guys, it is the Voodoo Doll from Noire Grimoire. Welcome back. This week we're going to be discussing physically sexual males and females, as promised. The week before we did emotionally sexual males and females. So I'm excited to bring the other part to you for those that have been waiting to hear about themselves or their lover. Happy Black Friday to everyone. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving as well. On the site, we are running a Black Friday sale only on our Etsy store. And the reason I'm moving a lot of things to Etsy is because PayPal's a processor for our website. PayPal has astronomical fees, so I'm looking to move some of our sales and our higher volume things over to Etsy. So hit us up on Etsy. It is Noire Grimoire, just like it is here, just like it is on Instagram. And there's a lot of extra perks for buying those rituals there. On Etsy, you get a little bit more for your money, and everything is deeply discounted. So that is where all the sales are happening, is our Etsy store. So let's get into the physically sexual female and male. So as we discussed last week, emotionally sexual males and female, sexual just means their behavior. So this is how they behave. They put their emotions in front of their body to protect themselves. The physical, on the other hand, puts their body in front of their emotions to protect themselves. So I'm going to read my notes to you for the female, and then I will go into the male. So our physical, or phys, as we may say it in the psychology world, the physes place their bodies in front of their emotions, so they require a great deal of physical attention. This is the person that normally you would say she's an attention whore. The men can be the same way, but she's an attention whore. She's dressing audaciously. She is maybe a little bit loud. She has a tendency to be more physical when talking, touching you, very flirtatious in her presentation, whether it be her clothes, the way she sits, the way she says things, just all physical, physically evolved. Everything is physical with this physical sexual female. She can develop this at a very young age. It depends on how her father was, or we say secondary caretaker, not mom, but whoever the secondary caretaker is. We know now that we have same-sex marriages, but let's just say mom and dad, to use that to be easy. It would be how affectionate the father is with her. If her father's very affectionate with her and hugging her, kissing her all the time, praising her, then she will most likely become a phys. This is something that she's used to. She's used to daddy's love being given to her physically, so they develop wanting that in the future. That's what they're looking for in a partner, so to say, but they usually attract emotionals. They attract the opposite. This is how they act because this is what they have been given as a child, what they're modeling. If she's rejected physically, she just becomes more exaggerated, even in childhood. So if she is rejected any sort of way, she would just act out more physically, meaning maybe even dressing more audaciously, boobs out, ass out a little bit more, or throwing a tantrum. It's going to be physical. She doesn't sit and stew in her emotions like our emotionals do. She's going to be very outward with it. Physical is very exaggerated. They're a perfectionist, so this type of female is going to strive to be the perfect partner. You may say that she's the Stepford wife. She spends a lot of money and time on her appearance, and she's very comfortable with herself and confident in her attractiveness. The emotional female, no matter how beautiful they are, tend to be a little bit uncomfortable in their appearance, and they're also the ones that will compliment a female faster because they don't see women as competition. Fizzes normally do see women as competition and maybe a little less likely to give you a compliment because they're threatened by other women. She's very comfortable being a stay-at-home wife, doesn't need independence or financial freedom. This type of female is so okay with being codependent. The emotionals are not. Emotionals, like I told you last week, those are the ones that can be led by a man at work, but they're going to compete for his position. They're always trying to be CEO, executive. They're the ones going to school, and working a job. Those are your emotionals. The physics are a little bit more comfortable sitting back and being taken care of. They aim to please their partner and look badly upon themselves if they are criticized. It's almost like their self-worth lives outside of their body, where an emotional female or male, it does not. 92 to 100% of physical sexual females walk with their feet pointed outward. So that is a representation of them being out in the world. Their feet are pointed outwards. And then when they're in hypnosis and they are leaning back, the emotional female's feet will usually be straight up and down, and the physical female's feet will usually fall to the side. So I guess pick that out in your lover or yourself if your feet kind of point outwards when you walk. She thrives on sex and looks upon men sexually. This is your girl that is out here on Tinder doing the hookup thing with guys, whereas normally we think that it's a guy thing where they're just pressing the hookup button and looking to screw whatever, but the fizz female can be highly sexual and predatory in her nature. She has an extremely high sex drive, can have sex 1 to 5 times a day. This female, if she were to develop any sort of physical problems, they're normally going to be in her ovaries, uterus, bladder, or kidneys. Those are her problem areas. She can be perceived as very vain. It might be hard to be around this type of person. So conceited, someone that is very self-absorbed are characteristics of your physicals. They can be an extremely jealous lover. Children and family are of importance to her. If the physical sexual female is not complimented by her partner, she can become withdrawn. She caters to her mate, and she always feels like she gives more in a relationship than her partner. You'll always have her saying that she's doing more and being more, even if she is the wife that is at home, is taken care of, has 0 bills, and does not work. She will complain and say that she's doing more than her partner is doing. It's very easy for a physically sexual female to be hurt and controlled in a relationship because their desire to be accepted. If their mate doesn't like blue jeans on a girl, then she will no longer wear blue jeans. If he likes blondes, she's dyeing her hair blonde. If he likes redheads, and she's a redhead the next week. They're very aimed at pleasing their partner. Remember, I told you it seems like the self-worth of a physical lives outside of themselves. She completely envelops herself in a relationship with unrealistic, romanticized ideas of her partner. And when things start to show his true color, it's very hard for her to accept him for who he truly is. It's the same with the physical male. These types of lovers, physicals, fizzes, they are the romantic people that you see in the movies, but we all know that doesn't really exist. But they are like that. They look at their partner like the princess or Romeo and Juliet, whatever. They're super romantic, and even when the person proves to be a narcissist or whatever it is, they will still hold on to that fairy tale version of this person that they had and cause themselves pain by wondering why this person is treating them this way, not accepting that, hey, this guy is an asshole and he's a narcissist. They will look into themselves, oh, maybe it's me, everything else except for the truth of what this person is. It's very hard to get them to move on. They can't face the music. So the fizzes are the ones that hold on to dear life, and it's a shame, but that is what they do. They cannot get rid of the fantasy, the mirage of their lover. Chivalry and personal affection are very important to this female. If she becomes overly criticized in her relationship, she will become vindictive and throw things back at her partner for years. It could be 10 years later, and she will throw that event into his face to hurt him because she knows that it perturbs him and completely drives him insane. Resentment is something that the physical sexual female holds on to for dear life. They do not ever forgive and forget. They will say that they have forgiven, but then they have not forgotten. Believe me, they have not. Extremely vindictive. Normally, this type of female will explode during an argument, and once the fire has fizzled out, she will be the first to apologize. And then it's too late, because opposites attract. So if a physical female is dating a male, we'll assume that he's an emotional male. If you blow up at an emotional male, they feel emasculated and they go into their shell. It's hard to bring them back out of their shell, even if you've apologized. And as a physical female, they use sex for connection. Remember, her body is in front of her. Their emotions are in front of them. So if a physical female has an argument with her partner, she's going to want to have sex to apologize, to make up, to bring closeness back to the relationship. An emotional male cannot even get an erection after an argument. They can't do it because their feelings are in front of their body. So they're unable to have sex. And that is always the the contention between the two is, oh, I thought you said you forgave me, you know, let's make love or whatever, but the guy can't. Maybe not even for a week or 2 weeks, because he has to process those feelings. Once those feelings have been processed, then his body begins to work normally again, and he's able to resume his normal sex cycle. But as we learned last week, emotionals only have a 1 to 3 day, and sometimes 3 to 7 day cycle, meaning they only like sex every 1 to 3 days or 7 days. So 3 days or 7 days, so is what you're going to get from an emotional. So they're not highly sexual anyway, and if you've wounded them, then they really pull back. So this is the problem that a physical female will have in her life with her mood swings, arguments, whatever it is. If she doesn't control it, is further wounding that relationship with her emotional male, and the sex being completely gone. Let's see, I already told you they can't perform. Physical sexual females can have sex multiple times in a night and experience multiple orgasms. So there we go, and that's the opposite of our emotional females. Now for the males. A lot of commonalities, some differences, but so for the males, they project a much more macho, bravado attitude than your emotionals. They're going to be your army guy, your police lieutenant, the daredevil, you know, whatever it is guy, they're the macho guy, the very macho guy. Emotionals have a tendency to be the daredevil guys, but these guys are much more macho than your emotional. He's more concerned with his appearance than his intellect. So these are the guys that may have the car and the body and the nice house or whatever, and they may have never gone to college. They figure it out. They're doing sales or whatever it is. They're not concerned with furthering their education because everything is about their physical appearance. And they usually will try to get into a job that's going to make them the most money to be able to cater to that, to put out the projection of the perfect man, the perfect body. If they can't ascertain the perfect body, the perfect car, the perfect house, the perfect dog, you know these guys. He is very attentive to women and enjoys being chivalrous, unlike our emotional male. He enjoys public displays of affection, but can sometimes be extremely possessive and jealous. He can be dominant in the very beginning, but as problems persist in the relationship, he can become passive and lose the respect of his emotional girlfriend. She's not going to respect him anymore because now, well, he's a wimp, and in the beginning you were so macho and you did this, but not realizing that their differences or trauma, their fights or whatever, have made him passive. He still is that guy, but he's passive now because he's in trauma, conflict within his relationship, and it makes him take a back seat. The physically sexual male has a strong sex drive. He's 100% driven by this. These are your sex addicts. These are the guys that they may not be cheating necessarily on their wives, but believe me, they're always trying to have sex with their wives, pressuring the wives for sex. When they're single, they're the guys that are bouncing around and being promiscuous on the dating site, wanting hookups. They spend 100% of their energy thinking about sex. These are the guys that will get into a job that has a physical labor to it or something physical so they can kind of work out their sexual frustrations at work. A lot of these guys may be addicted to the gym because they're getting rid of that energy. That energy is sexual energy. They may not even be aware of it. If a physically sexual male is not able to ejaculate regularly, he can develop physical symptoms revolving around the prostate. And they usually have more prostate problems than the emotionally sexual males. Physical sexual male is able to have sex all day, all night if you let him, or lay in bed all weekend and have sex all weekend, while emotional males or females cannot. It would drive us crazy. I'm an emotional female. I do not like that shit. So if you're with the physical male in the beginning, it's probably a high sex drive for both of you, because we know that emotional female and males can act physical in the beginning, meaning that instead of having sex every 3 to 7 days, they're having sex 3 times a day because it's new. But once they hit the plateau, they return to their emotional selves, and it throws the physical for a loop because, well, you know, in the beginning, honeymoon stage, we were having sex 3 times a day, and now that it's no longer the honeymoon stage, she's now, or he has regulated and are only wanting to have sex every 3 to 7 days. So the physical male is that guy that can have sex all day and night if you allow him to. They usually reach orgasm, and when they reach orgasm, they only release part of their semen, and that is what enables them to keep having sex. We learned last week that the emotional male, when he ejaculates, he releases all of his semen, and that is what keeps him from being unable to get another erection. When the physical male has sex, he prefers to be on top, a dominant position. All other positions are secondary to that one for this physical male. They talk during sex or express their emotions or what they're physically feeling. We learned last week that our emotionals don't like that. You can make an emotional lose an erection by trying to talk to him and being too expressive during sex. They'll normally go out of their way to satisfy their partner sexually, but not for her, for their ego. So this is the guy that's going to learn all these tricks and watch porn and try to do this shit in bed with you so he can go and brag to his friends that he made you walk like a baby giraffe after. It's not for you. It's for him and his ego. He has to be the perfect lover. He's physical. Everything is ego and sexual driven with these men. They can be quite self-absorbed. And every type of sexuality has their downside, their bad side, but that's one for the physicals, is that they can be very self-absorbed. Again, body in front of emotion to protect. Let's see, they have a strong pull towards marriage, and as long as they are being sexually satiated, they're normally monogamous. They're normally faithful. That's what I'm trying to say. They're normally faithful and loyal. They have a higher tendency to be faithful than the emotionals. So physicals can be very faithful and loyal, more so, studies say, than the emotionals, which is interesting though, because I'm an emotional and I'm definitely not a cheater. So, but the physicals are able to be more loyal than us. They're very fond of children and usually want children of their own. They are more adaptable to children outside of their own. So if they get with a one and she has kids from another relationship, they're usually okay with that. The emotionals usually have problems. Physically, sexual males are good with sports. They're sports-minded. They're drawn to watching sports and they're drawn to playing sports. And again, like the females, they tend to romanticize their partners, and when a breakup takes place, they can't disassociate the idea of the fantasy from reality. These are the ones that will stay in a abusive relationship for 15 years because they are holding on to what this person was in the honeymoon stage, self-flagellating because they can't get this person to act like this with them again, not accepting the fact that this person is who they are now. What they were in the beginning was the representative. The physicals have a hard time accepting that. They can really ruin their lives that way by trying to hang on to fantasy instead of accepting reality. They can't concentrate on anything else. If there's problems in their relationship, these are the ones that will lose their job, that won't eat, that won't sleep. Like they get really jacked up when there's, excuse me, when there's problems in their relationship, whereas emotional can kind of compartmentalize that and still get the job done. They're not going to risk their job or anything like that. They're very stoic in how they process things, as they're always in their head. The physicals actually may go through physical pain. It may even cause a sickness in their body if they're going through a heartbreak. Everything, again, physical is physical for them. They are often still hurt and still angry and still in love with lost partners that they broke up with years before. It could be 5, 10, 15, 20, 2 years. They are still in love with the people that they were in love with before. They stay in love with them and they stay upset with them and mad. And they're normally holding on again to that fantasy of love. That person may not have been good for them at all, but in their head, she was love of my life, and they won't let it go. Physical men usually repeat the same relationship over and over again with different women. So what does all that mean this time? It means that if you can pick out some things in yourself, hopefully you know by watching this if you are physical or if you are an emotional. If you're still unsure about it, there's a test that I'm going to offer and walk through with you guys one-on-one, and we'll figure out your sexuality. At least you probably have picked out your partner. That opens up a world of conversation that can be had of what can I do to myself to make my relationship better. You cannot change anyone. The only thing magic does is influence. And that's why I say psychology is magic, because you can change yourself. It is the only magic that you can do that is permanent and that will change you 100%. You can't change anyone else. So if you want a better relationship with your partner, look to yourself. I'm not saying a love spell isn't a good idea, but you guys do these love spells and you don't do your shadow work. And I feel like a parrot. I'm walking around, shadow work, shadow work. That's all I keep saying because it's so important. So that is that for this week, physical, emotional. In the subsequent weeks coming, we will talk about how we can make sense of all this, how we can utilize this to bring more joy into our own lives, whether it's realizing that we need to let go of a partner or realizing that we need to change how we interact with a partner. But first, it comes with self-discovery and know thyself. That is the first step in doing anything and doing magic, doing whatever, is know yourself. So we will talk in the next couple of weeks and figure out our sexuality and how to move forward in our life and our relationships. I hope you all are having a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye.